Hi, this is Yana with Yana's Art and Soul Studio. Last month, February 6th, I had an artist talk. The month of February, I had my first solo show at the Mac Gallery in Rancho Cordova. It was a very exciting time. I had a great turnout. Definitely had some sales. I was excited about that. So I know there's a lot of people out there live on the East Coast and other countries who were not able to see the show. And so what I'm doing is putting together a little um, presentation to talk about my art. Not everything is on this presentation, but the majority of it is. So I will let us begin. I will share my screen. One moment. Okay. And this is going to be just a little glitch here. All right. And I hope you can see that. We'll start. My art journey. This is my show is called Ancestral Alchemy, the Sacredness of Black Women. My spiritual beginnings. The first pieces of art at the Mac, you came upstairs, and this was the first one, pictures you saw. Chokhmah, which means wisdom in Hebrew, was my first piece that people were faced with. And she means wisdom. And this picture was part of Proverbs 8, and it talked about the latter part of that chapter talks about I was with him when he created the world, paraphrased. And what that means to me is that women were there in the beginning. In my upbringing, in my Christian upbringing, it was always said it was the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and it seemed like there were just three male entities, but there was a woman entity, and it says so in the Bible that she was his delight. And so in this picture, I show the rainbow, the cosmos, earth, water, the plants, and this is Chokmah. The next one, this is kind of my Christian Hebraic training or teachings. It's called Steadfast. And when I made this painting, I didn't know what I was doing actually. I said, why is this woman the same size as trees? And then I came to me the scripture that uh, planted by just like the trees that are planted by the waters, I shall not be moved. And so this is what, it's also a song. Um, So this is what this is, a steadfast. So I am just like that tree. This image is just like that tree planted by the waters. The roots run deep, and I stand fast. The next one is Pearl of Great Price. And in my pictures, in my paintings, I do paint women, have women of color, and believe me, they are of color. There'll be different colors. Um, Pearl of Great Price. In you see in her heart, and in the heart is a pearl. And there's a parable in the New Testament in the Bible about a pearl of great price, a parable that Jesus spoke of. Well, this pearl, the woman is named Pearl also, and she's of great price because her ancestry was picking cotton, which you see in the upper left-hand corner. And that was her price. Her price was the labor of America. So she was of great price. And she is, and that's also the parable of great price, the pearl of great price. The next picture is devotion. Devotion, just wanted to have a woman with her hair covered, her head covered, and then all around her are little scriptures, mainly, excuse me, Proverbs and Psalms and some other ones that talk about encouragement, about being devoted, and and great affirmations. So if someone wanted this piece, it's a pretty large piece, a medium-sized piece, I'll say that. And it gives references of positivity. The next one, next area, I start talking about ancestral recognition. And this is two sisters, 1900. Now, I have a sister. It's just the two of us. And though we're not in the 1900s, I just like that style back then. The high boots and the fluffy dresses and the big bows in their hair. So this was I like that time period. I like the way people dressed during that time period. So this is also in recognition of sisters, and especially me and my sister. The next one is mother-daughter. I actually took this design from a drum. I was given to me by a colleague of mine who was Ethiopian, and the drum had this same type of figure where the mother was doing the daughter's hair. And I added the background. I looked up some things of particular flower that's in Ethiopia that looks very similar to that. And I forgot the name of the flower. But I wanted to show this picture as a mother-daughter and showing ancestral lineage in the motherland. Then we get into goddesses in nature. And this is Gaia. The one on the left is Gaia, Mother Earth. She was part of a demonstration I was doing for a class I had on reclaiming your goddess energy, the goddess within. And so I loved the sunflowers being the breasts, and then vines with flowers covering up her body, and just little symbols around her. And it shows that she's radiant, the radiating colors around her. The next is Creative Queen. And this was another demonstration I did about 2, 3 years ago. Um, and we were talking about our queendom. So this was just a demonstration of how we are queens. As you notice, I highly honor and emphasize Black women. This is Eye of the Beholder. Um, I was just playing. This is going into my more whimsical stage. I was starting to play with a certain style, getting into abstraction. And she just has that one eye open, so it's the eye of the beholder. And the next one is Bloom, in Bloom. This actually was a painting I did some time ago, but it just had dark hair and it lacked vitality. It just lacked vibrancy. It was so I added the flowers around her, and it just really brought her out. It did more to her eyes, and so this is in bloom. And then with this whole thing with blooms and flowers, I followed this artist who used a lot of flowers in her pictures, and they're very abstract pictures. These two of the blooming beauties. This is hibiscus on the left and orchid on the right. These were actually so much fun to do. They were, as you see, I love the whimsy. I love the abstraction. That's probably my favorite thing to do in my art. And I probably will be doing more of paintings like these or very similar. So these are blooming beauties. They both sold. They went fast. The muse. When I started receiving my certification for becoming a color of woman or intentional creativity teacher, I went through a program called Musea, and we always talked about the muse. And so in these pictures, you see the muse comes out from these abstractions. The one on the left is visionary, and excuse me, it actually was a vision. You see a paint palette at the bottom, and then there's a little house that has a G on it. I don't know if you can see it. It's towards the lower left-hand corner. And that was a gallery, which this was my vision. And actually, it has come to pass, which I have a studio in a gallery. And you see wine glasses, and that's basically representing celebration. So I am celebrating the fact that I have my own artist studio and very happy about that. The next picture is Imagination Menagerie. And this was just a lot of things, just different uh, um, designs and markings. And you see a world, you see a butterfly by the woman's face, flowers. It was just this was a very playful abstraction painting. Um, it just has a lot of imagination to it. And that's what that represents. Next is Creative Healing Journey. I taught a class in 2024. And this was, the class was about a healing muse. These were muses that came out. They start off in the background is a writing is kind of a scribbling, a metacognitive drawing, and which is like a scribbling, but it's thinking about what you want while you're drawing. And also there's words attached to it. So this particular one on the left is free. I wanted freedom. I wanted to express myself. I wanted to feel free. And part of that was getting my own studio also. And then the other one is love. I wanted more love in my life, better relationships with my family. And so this was like manifesting. These are creative healing, and it represents you're manifesting what you desire. And actually, it has worked. Getting into spirituality, this is more African spirituality. This is the goddess Yemaya. She's the goddess of the waters. She's nurturing, she's loving, she's a protector. And this painting was very interesting. She didn't start off this way as a mermaid. And the little scales you see, those were rhinestones that I put down there. And she didn't start like that. And I just looked at her. I didn't like it. It's like sometimes the work will just sit there and you're not finished, but you're finished. And then an idea came. It's like, make her into a mermaid. And it's like, but you can't see the tail. It's okay. You can see the scales on her torso or on her, lower part. And it worked. And she has the light, the lotus flower with the light around the lotus flower, which represents beauty coming from darkness. So that's goddess Yemaya. And then Risen, which was a sold piece, which is a very popular piece. It just represents a lot of things. You see a lot of cowrie shells. And the cowrie shells represent fertility, and it represents money in African cultures. You see family, which could also be the ancestors. And the spiral is a powerful symbol. And and that just means integration, just integrating and rising. So for me, that was I'm rising in my spirituality, in my knowledge, and in my relationship with the Most High, with the Creator. Sankofa is an African term from Ghana, which means looking back to to being able to look back in order to inform the future or the present. And so these have African themes of African women. This is Blue Lotus on the left. And it's very tiny, but in her hand is a blue lotus flower. A blue lotus flower is healing. And this was an abstraction. It came from a picture I saw in a magazine, and I just kind of adapted that. And the other one is sovereignty. She also basically came from a magazine. I did some alterations, and it looks totally different than if you saw the magazine. But this was sovereignty. This one, uh, Not my typical style. As I told you, I like to do more whimsical, but this was more getting more into realistic. And it's a mixed media because on top of her head is a fabric paper. It's like a fabric. I call it fabric paper. It's a textured paper. And I use that as her hat. And she was very fun to draw. I mean, not to paint, but took a lot of time. And when you're working with skin tone in this way, you almost can't stop because you keep adding on and touching up and touching up. So she was actually fun, but she was a lot of work. My whimsical ones I do a little faster, but I will probably do a few like this, more realistic um, type paintings. This represents my ancestral healing. Alchemy is a picture with lots of jars. The jars represent the healing potions that are inside. You can't see it in this picture, but one of the bottles, the little blue one on the upper left, um, has mirrors. So it's a mixed media. And you see the white jar at the towards the mm, more towards the right, the white jar. It has money around it. And it was like plastic money that I pasted around there. And then there's a little glob of white, which is salt. Salt is for protection. So this is kind of representing the conjuring, root work, hoodoo, um, ancestral part of African American lineage is that a lot of these potions were healing for our ancestors who were enslaved. And even those after, when the medical system wouldn't take care of us, we took care of our own selves using the plants. In fact, in the lower right-hand corner, I painted some bay leaves, also a sign of prosperity. So we use plant spirits and other items for our healing, our protection, and our wealth. And then right over here is great grandma. This is my great grandmother, Luelvia. And I did a different uh, process, which I try different things. Do try different things. I wanted to have kind of a graffiti look, but also an antique look. So I used a lot of stencil in the background, and they're kind of mild-mannered stencils. They're very, I would say, sophisticated stencils. And I did a layering of her face, showing the different values. The picture of Luelvia is all in raw umber, different values of raw umber. And then it's mixed media because I did add a cowrie shell. It was from a belt I had, and it was a cowrie shell flower. And then I have beads around the edge of her neck, her collar, excuse me. And I just like the juxtaposition of how the items look with each other, the background with the antiqueness of the face. And then at my show, I had an altar. This is my family, my dad, great auntie, sister, stepmom, husband, and cousin. And behind them is the altar that I had during the entire show that had a picture of my mom, my grandmother, their family members, and just some other items that represented my ancestry. So that's my first show. I was very excited about it. It was a success, and I hope you enjoyed it. And now, so you have any questions? Please let me know. This will be in my YouTube uh, channel. If it fits, I hope it's not too long. And also, my YouTube channel is Yana Creates. So if you did the YouTube at slash, then put Yana Creates. And also, Please visit my website, which is yana.art, A-R-T. Yana is spelled Y-A-N-N-A-H. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed.